The following is a presentation of iRacing.com Motorsports Simulations on LSRTV, the voice of sim racing.
Good evening, everyone, from YouTube, Facebook Live, and iRacing Live. I'm Austin Cube alongside Kelly Dahl and Cisco Scaramouza in the production trailer. We want to welcome you to LSRTV's coverage of the USR B&C Lawn and Landscaping Truck Series as we prepare for 100 laps at Michigan for the 16th race of the season. There are 30 races in this season, and 20 of them are for points. And 12 positions are up for grabs. Kelly here. Today we're at Michigan. It's a slight schedule change. It was supposed to be the Glen, but there was a little bit of a mishap. So we're here at Michigan. We're still on the schedule. It's going to be the next one after the Glen. Perhaps they'll put it back on. We'll definitely keep everyone posted, or the league will, on the site. But we're here at Michigan. 2 mile over 100 laps. Tell us about it.
This is definitely an interesting track. On paper, it really looks like a cookie cutter if you were just to look at the layout. However, it is slightly bigger, so it is going to allow for a lot higher speeds, and you'll honestly see a lot of drafting come into play, especially down this long backstretch. So you'll see maybe a truck get right up to the bumper before popping out into the corner, but it's definitely going to be a bit of a fight for the best line around this track. It isn't really a track that lends itself to multiple lines. The high line isn't really a factor here, so you'll see a lot of trucks fighting for the inside, and that could produce some interesting racing. It's I'd expect to see a lot of trucks maybe get into the wall off of 2, because you're going to be trying to push as hard as you can for that launch off of turn 2, getting onto the back straight, and I think a lot of trucks can be caught up by getting on that gas too early and slamming that wall outside of turn 2, so it's definitely something to watch here tonight.
Yeah, right you are. We're going to take a look at those points as we mentioned just a little bit ago. Jamie Walker, he still holds the points lead after last week. Justin Michaels, second place, got his 5th win of the season already, being dominant at some quite a few tracks already this season. Does not have the points lead because of Jamie Walker's consistency, but he is ever so close to getting that. Greg Mall, he is in 3rd with 20 points out from Jamie Walker. Seth Foudy and Scott Simley, they'll round out the top 10. Aaron Bennett, Robert Gillerwater, Michael Waters, Bobby Terrell, Shane Hawthorne, Justin Kleiber, and Dwayne Dunn. That's your top 12. And then you have Steve Herring, who has lost quite a few points from last week. Didn't have a good finish last week. He's 25 points out, and Scott Formosa and Christopher Hurlow, they are quite a few points out. It's starting to look a little bleak for these drivers unless they have some really good weeks here.
Yeah, that could be a problem for some of these drivers, because right now it looks like Dwayne Dunn, looking at current qualifying standings, he's going to be starting up near the front here. He's currently sitting in 7th, so if he can get a good run here tonight, he can maybe secure his position going towards the chase here, because we're starting to run out of time, run out of weeks, and run out of races remaining before the chase. So if these guys are wanting to get some points, they got to start now. They can't really play conservative anymore. They have to run up there, and they have to start stealing points back week after week.
Yeah, what better track to do it at a place like this where you can run multiple different grooves and really kind of do your own thing. Run the top side, run the middle line, go to the very bottom. This track really has it all. You can go 2, 3, sometimes even 4 wide here at this track and still be very competitive and really be able to do a lot with what you have as qualifying is underway. Last week's winner currently on the pole with a 39.651. That's going to be hard to beat as no one... he's about a half a second ahead of the next guy, Jamie Walker. These two, Jamie Walker and Justin Michael, these two have been at it the last 2 weeks, and not like a rivalry where you expect to be bumping and banging, but they've been at close to each other the last 2 weeks, fighting for position, fighting for wins, and it's been really fun to watch here, Kelly.
Yeah, these have definitely been some of the fastest drivers around week after week. You see these names always up near the top, and it's no surprise that these guys are currently leading the point standings at this moment. I mean, if this were a old school season, at this point, I'd be saying, like, even though we're not even pretty much only halfway through the season, I'd still have these two as my favorites to win the whole thing. But with this chase, you still don't know how it's going to work out. You have to be consistent week after week, and that's what Jamie's been doing. So, I mean, Jamie's definitely going to be a one to watch as these weeks wear down and we get towards this chase. And after the chase, I mean, who knows what's going to happen, but I definitely still expect to see Jamie Walker, Justin Michael, Greg Mull, and Seth Foudy up near the front.
And so we'll do Michigan today. That'll be 5 to go for the regular season. Then we'll presumably have Glenn next week. Then we'll have Bristol, Darlington, and Richmond to round us out for our 20-race regular season. Then we have our 9-race preliminaries before we actually get to Homestead and have our finale. Qualifying has all but settled down, just a few more seconds, and it is official. Justin Michael, he will get the pole here tonight, and that number 87 truck, he's been on fire lately, and he's here trying to set up another win, trying to look for a 6th win, but he's where he needs to be in that number 87 truck, so he's going to start on the pole in first. Jamie Walker, he starts second with Bobby Terrell. Third, Robert Gillenwater starts fourth. Michael Waters, he'll start fifth. Nathan Davis, sixth. Dwayne Dunn starts in that number 7 position. Bobby Wetzel in the number 19 truck, he starts 8th. Jason Jacoby, he'll start 9th. And Mark McCrary, he starts 10th.
And the row behind him in the 22 truck, we'll see Seth Foudy. In 12th, the 11 of Shane Hawther. 13th goes to Ralph Vandervorst. Scott Sinley will be in 14th. Chris Guibault in 15th. Scott Formosa in 16th. Brian Cutts goes 17th. 18th goes to the 93 of Justin Kleber. Matt Mara is in 19th. And rounding out our top 20 is the 33 of Keith Butt.
Lewis Robinette starts 21st with Tristan Beats right behind him. Last truck to take a time. He starts 22nd. Tim Matthews, 23rd. First provisional driver, Tommy Ryan, 24th. Greg Mull starts 25th. Ricky Howell Jr., 26th. Michael Priester, 27th. Randy Yoakum, he starts 28th. Michael Waite, 29th. Jeff Ryan, he'll start that number 8 truck in 30th. And to round out the full field of 31 is Stephen Herring. Tonight we have 100 laps, and we talk about a track like this. We'll do our track facts here in just a moment, but we've talked up and down about the banking and about how these trucks can really just get around this place. It's quite the banking on these. I'm sorry, I'm trying to get it up. I don't have it memorized here. It's going to be about 18 in the turns. That's what it's going to be. 18 in the turn, 5 on the back, and then 12 on the front. And remember, they can use all the room on the track. There is no out of bounds. So don't forget that these drivers can go all the way down to the apron and even as close to the grass. So that's something to see and watch. I've seen it time and time again, and seeing these drivers, they'll actually use that to maybe shake off the draft. You talked about it a little bit earlier, Kelly, about how these drivers are going to try and do that. They're going to try and make sure that if they got someone in the draft they may not want it, and then the guy behind him, he's going to want to get every bit of draft he can, just a little bit of advantage that he can try and take going down the back stretch or the front stretch.
I think what's actually going to be the most interesting part of this race, I mean, we saw it a few weeks ago at Kentucky, it's going to be the restarts and any time we go green, because there is so much space on this track, as you've mentioned. These guys will be able to push it 3 wide through turns 1 and 2. You may not see it on this first start here because it may just be a bit more conservative, but especially as these laps wind down and we get towards the end of this race, these guys will take any gap given to them, and we will have trucks scattered all over the track trying to find their way up to the front.
And as all these trucks go into turn 3, you are very, very right. With all these trucks, as tight as they are now, without a doubt, by the second lap, they're going to be very squeezed out and definitely separated by quite a bit. It restarts, big deal. At a track like this where it takes quite a bit to get up to full speed, if you don't get through the gearbox quickly, you could be really setting yourself for a disastrous green flag run, potentially, if we don't have caution. So this track can typically breed that. It can be one of those monsters, or it can be a really long, drawn-out green flag run. But as the pace car comes down this to pit road, Justin Michael will get the green flag, and he will be on his way. Watch that 87 get a good jump like they always do on these initial starts. Jamie Walker will go down in tow, and then you got Robert Gillenwater still on the outside trying to fight. These guys are definitely getting single file pretty quick. But look at the arches that they're getting into turns 1 and 2 as they're starting to single file out.
And look at already the gap forming between Justin Michael, Jamie Walker, and the rest of the field. There is already multiple truck lengths. Just in the back of the field, we see the 55 of Michael Waters. He goes to the inside of Robert Gillenwater coming into turn number 3. This is for 4th place already. And he's going to be just even up through the corner. Neither one of them giving an inch. It looks like right behind them, Nathan Davis, he's also looking for a way through.
Yeah, look at these trucks. 3 wide back in the pack just for a moment, though, as they start to settle it out here. And a 2-car breakaway, then right behind them, Bobby Terrell, and then behind them, it's all a bunch of 2 wide action for a bunch of these trucks. But look at the checkup right there in turns 2. That Pennzoil 19 truck of Bobby Wetzel. He's going to get passed by on the inside by quite a few trucks, and look at the 3 wide. That's the number 22 of Seth Fowdy. New paint scheme on that, has a little bit of SpongeBob SquarePants on it, and he's going to get a position by that, passing 31 of Mark McCrary. He's actually going to lose 2 positions right there in that corner, and that 22, he's going to get another one if he's able to manage that one, and that shows you how much you can get on a restart and how much you can lose. And the 22 got a few positions, and the 31 lost a lot. 31 lost about 2 positions as well. And look at the contact in turn 1. That's the 31. He keeps on going back.
Talking about losing positions, actually, the 39 of Dwayne Dunn in 1 lap went from 10th to 26th. So something went wrong in that truck, and he has gone all the way to the back. So there's a long hill for him to climb. However, there's still a lot of laps left to go. So Dwayne Dunn's going to have to get back into his groove and try to catch the rest of this field once again.
Right up front, look at Justin Michael and Jamie Walker do battle like they've done for multiple weeks in a row. And watch the number 87 still trying to keep his position, but Jamie Walker puts the move on the very bottom of the track. And down in turns 1 and 2, he's going to get the advantage going into the corner, but out of the corner, the 87's definitely going to get the momentum, but will he clear him before and shut the door? And it's even going to be close. Jamie Walker, new leader, and I'm sure that 17 truck is extremely happy to be on that side of things. He led a lot of laps last week, did not win, and was in a position to do so. He's back up there in the 87. He's going to get passed by the 94 Bobby Terrell as well. Looks like the bottom's where you want to be, but there's a long snake of cars, or so to say trucks, here in this top groove, and now they're not so snaky. They're definitely bunching up here, and that's what you'd want as a driver if you're out front, if you're Jamie Walker or even Bobby Terrell at this point. You definitely want these guys to start bunching up so you can really pull away.
And there is nowhere for that 87 to go. He can't quite get to his good line as the 55 gets around him. Now the 1 is blocking his inside. He's completely boxed in. He can't go anywhere but in a straight line right now. And he's trying to actually, looks like he got a bit of a bump draft on the 55 there. I think he might have gotten clear of the 1. Actually, no, not quite. And he's going to lose some ground again coming through the corner. So Justin Michael moving backwards after a strong start, and he's now in some trouble. He can now finally get down to that bottom line, but he dropped all the way back to 5th now.
Yeah, when you consider how good how good of a qualifying run he had, what a promising truck he had. Look at the close action, actually. Look, going to take a step back at Gillenwater and the 36 truck of Nathan Davis. Those 2 drivers really close together in turns 2. If I didn't know any better, it looked like they actually touched, but now look at the 22 and the 19 also doing battle. 19, or the 22 on the bottom, that's going to be Seth Fowdy with the new paint scheme at the very bottom, trying to cut up above. That looks like Bobby Wetzel, and those 2 have been doing battle for a couple laps now, and these battles are starting to get really drawn out, and that's kind of the product that you see at a track like this, with lap 7 coming on this time by, and they're going to start snaking out here soon. But once a driver makes a move, they really have to be committed to it. And we talk about how any track, once you try and make a move, you need to be committed, and at a track like this, it's really important. But keep looking up front, because it's not the battle for the lead isn't going anywhere anytime soon. But when you make a move, it's got to be there, because you could be stuck on the bottom or the top side.
And this track almost has a little bit of Daytona or Talladega mixed into it because of the length and the draft. The draft has helped keeping the trucks together, and as we're talking about Bobby Tyrrell, he's now going to move to the inside of Jamie Walker, and he's going to make his move for the lead. He's now up to his door, going into turn number 1, side by side. Looks like he will get his nose out ahead. Not quite clear just yet. Jamie Walker can go on the counterattack coming off of turn number 2. We'll see if he's got the speed. No, he's going to get cleared 94 now into the lead. Jamie Walker cuts right up behind him and gives him a bit of a bump draft, but no counterattack going into turn 3. Bobby Tyrrell, your new race leader.
The opportunity definitely presented itself for Jamie Walker to try that crossover move, and he did make the move, but then got immediately blocked by Bobby Tyrrell, who will definitely get that lead change. That's the second lead change we've already had in 9, or should I say 8 laps now in the books. So every 4 laps, it seems, well, statistically, I would say, is the going rate for a lead change. And look behind them. Look at the very bottom. Look at that number. Looks like it's going to be the number 1 car of Jason Jacoby getting around the 55 right there, and the 55's on the counterattack right there in the bottom. That's Michael Waters and Jason Jacoby doing battle right here in turns number 3. They're going to go side by side. Looks like the 55 has the advantage, and those two, they just swap positions basically. This is a track you can definitely see that at. Someone who gets more momentum will definitely be able to cut under, like you just saw. And we saw Jamie Walker try and do that about a lap or 2 ago now. And with that being said, you can almost get into like a cat and mouse game where you continuously continue to do that, and we don't see that quite yet with these two drivers, the 55 and the 1, but they are dealing with a lot of movement on the track. And look at those 2 leaders in front of them; they're getting away.
Yeah, that was a great counterattack, good crossover move by Michael Waters. Just waited for that 1 truck to wash up in front of him and just ducked underneath, uses the momentum and powered on through. But also look at this little bunch. This pack forming up in a battle for 3rd, and looks like the 1 now, he's going to dive down the track to the apron, trying to see if he can minimize that length around the track. He's got the 4 pushing him, but can't quite catch up to the 55 of Michael Waters. So he's still looking for a way around, and we've got ourselves a 4-way battle for 3rd. These trucks, going to get right up to the bumper of the 55. He still can't quite find his way. Oh, and the 1 is into the wall.
Oh, wow. He's still in the wall. Now look at all the trucks scatter on the inside, 4 wide for a moment, only to get around him. But that's a huge blow. 4th to... he's going to lose a couple more positions, but outside the top 20 most definitely. And that's a huge, huge problem. And you could see it happening. Looked like he was gaining a lot of ground, but it looked almost like he was getting too much ground, and definitely was the case because that truck was tight as all could be right there through the corner. Perhaps he got in the gas a little too early, but that is what happens back up towards the towards the front of the field. We have 2-way battle. Looks like the 87 is going to get loose on the bottom, and look, the 22 of Seth Fowdy is going to get around him. The 87 right there. That's Justin Michael. We talked about how he was having some issues there and continues to at this point. Got back to 4th though, so for a guy like him, 4th, we expect him to be up there, or should I say 5th, and he lost another spot, but we expect him to be up there. He's won so many races, and he's been so consistent in the last 10 races, so to be outside the top 5 is, we say it's bad, but for him, it is. But a lot of drivers would love to be in this position and say that a top 5 is something that comes easily. The driver's just doing a very good job week in, week out. Right now, needs to definitely get back up there and see if he can try and take that points lead away from Jamie Walker.
Yeah, that outside wall I talked about early on in this race, it's really it really comes out at you. It almost seems like it jumps at you because as you come off of the turn 2, the banking almost outright disappears and your truck will just push right into that wall. So if you get on that gas pedal too early, you can easily get in the wall. And just back here, Seth Fowdy now making a move on Robert Gillenwater. He's got Justin Michael on his bumper, helping him push right by. He's going to nearly get clear going into turn number 1, get all the way up the track, keep the 4 towards the wall, and get a great run going into the corner. It looks like Justin Michael will be able to get clear as well. So
just barely.
4 of Robert Gillenwater losing 2 spots in 2 corners.
And that was really interesting too. You saw the 22 throw the block to the 87. If he didn't do that, the 87 would have got around him, and we may have saw 3 wide in turn 1. Knowing how these guys drive very aggressively when it comes to situations like that. I'm sure maybe one of them might have backed out, but because it is only lap 14. But that was a really heated battle between those two, especially when the 22 went all the way down to block. So I'm seeing a little bit of a revival from the 87 truck. Perhaps he's expecting that truck to have a much better, longer run. Didn't want to really ruin the tires up front. But while I'm talking about that, look behind him. Battle for looks like the 8th position. Tim Matthews, Mark McCrary trying to go after the number 80 of Scott Formosa, who needs a good day today, needs a good points day to get back into the swing of things to try and get into the championship hunt. And then there's 2 wide behind them. Scott Simley, Mark McCrary trying to do battle 36 on the bottom, trying to get everything he's got on Mark McCrary.
Yeah, they are still door-to-door completely even up. The 36 and the 31 battling for 9th place here, and looks like neither one of them will give an inch. They are still completely even now. The 36 going to gain a bit of ground through the corner, immediately lose it, so they are still completely door-to-door. And
top side.
There's the momentum on the top side, just being able to power off that corner and get a great run out down the straight. So it really seems that if you're going to make a move on the inside, you have to clear them and cut off that top side's momentum. And it's not, if you can get the grip on that bottom side, you can easily fly around the top side, but it's really have to throw that block immediately, because that top side will have a lot of momentum, and with that backstretch, you have a lot of time to make that move.
Looks like we got Bobby Wetzel down pit road. Don't know if it's a scheduled or unscheduled pit stop. The fuel cells in these trucks are limited in this series, so perhaps he's doing a very short pit route. He's the only driver to come in. Well, it looks like maybe Brian Cutts is going to come in, but that does look like his truck was already slow at the time, so we'll have to keep our eyes on that. Speaking of drivers losing a lot of time, Jamie Walker was in second position not too long ago, and he's already in the 5th position now, getting passed by Justin Michael just one lap or just a little bit ago. So definitely an interesting thing to see. Perhaps we have to take a look at, maybe he got loose or tied off one of the corners, had to back out of it, because losing 3 positions so quickly and so rapidly like he did, definitely not what he wanted. But the truck still looked pristine, still going at it in 5th position.
This is something we see from Jamie Walker quite often. He'll have tons of speed in the opening laps of a green flag run, especially early on in the race, and then will lose a lot of that speed. He just isn't quite as good on the worn tires early on in the race. Once he starts getting used to these worn tires, though, he gains a little bit of that speed back, but early on in the race, he just doesn't quite have much on those worn tires, and it's really showing here as he went from 1st place now all the way back to 5th. And speaking of 1st place, Bobby Tyrrell has got about half a second on Michael Waters behind him, so Bobby Tyrrell really just owning the field right now.
Well, as we pass lap 19, we're going to take a quick short break as we get some things tangled up and untangled here, and we'll be right back on the other side of things. You're watching LSRTV, the voice of sim racing.
Racing, you wanted the best, you got them for a breast. Often imitated, never duplicated. The greatest show on dirt, the World of Outlaws.
Welcome back to Michigan as we are going through pit stops. Seth Foudy, he's another guy coming down pit road. Looks like Bobby Wetzel started the train to come down pit road. Seth Foudy is one of the first, and you're also watching Jason Jacoby. Tommy Ryan looks like he's also been down pit road, and just a few others, but those guys look like the heavy hitters at this point. Watching Bobby Tyrrell, though, continues to lead coming through turns 4. Does not look like he's going to come down pit road anytime, but look behind him, Michael Waters. He's going to come down pit road, and a few other guys are going to come down pit road as well. And I think this is going to be a much larger group, Kelly, as it looks like we have a few more coming down. And I think this is going to be the start of a very long cycle of pit stops.
Yeah, it looks like they lose almost 1.5 seconds from the start with these in just 20 laps. So those tires are wearing off very fast, losing a lot of speed. So it's going to be interesting to see how these different strategies form up as the race goes on. We'll have to see just how long Bobby Tyrrell decides to keep it out. Looks like he is not slowing up this time, so he is going to stay out and maybe go for his entire fuel run here.
Yeah, when you are the leader, it's almost a decisive or indecisive move to short pit or to long pit. Typically for the leader, you either want to be the first or the very last to pit, so you could get one or two of the advantages that comes with it. Pitting in the middle, you're kind of getting a little bit of both, but you can still kind of bring everyone in at the same time too. So Bobby Terrell trying to make sure he gets everything he's got out of his tires, it looks like at this point. And same thing with Justin Michael and Jamie Walker as well. I'm sure they're going to come in the next few laps, but if they go any longer, they're definitely going to cut the first strategy that a lot of these drivers are doing to do away with the short pit and definitely do the longer pit and see how it works out. 1 second's quite a bit at certain tracks, but after this one, where they're doing 40-second laps, that's where it becomes the deal breaker for certain drivers. Certain drivers like having that extra second per lap. They feel that they're very confident they're going to be able to get that time back, and then some other drivers feel confident that they can do everything they can with the old tires and the fuel strategy that they're going to do.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be it's something thought to think about how these different strategies really will shape up. I mean, we can talk about it all we want, but we aren't going to know for sure until we start seeing it in front of us here, and it's still going to be a few laps before we really do know if that short pit strategy is going to work out. I mean, Bobby Tyrrell going around once again, he's definitely got it on his mind that he's going to go for the full fuel load and see if he can just run maybe one less pit stop than everyone else. And he might just decide that it might go green this entire time. These are clean racers, but we see on his high side now, Tim Matthews on fresh tires just going right by him down the back straight.
Yeah, and you're seeing the inevitable difference of what new and old tires can come down to. And you're seeing him actually come down right now. He's coming down pit road to get service for that truck, so a little bit later than some of these drivers, and he'll definitely do precedence. He's pitting on lap 25, so he's going to try and limit this to a 3-stop run. So lap 25, lap 20, or 50, and lap 75. Can't math there for a second, but Bobby Terrell going to come down for pits, try and do his first round, and definitely get that truck very slow down into his box, but definitely all squared up. You'll still see Gillenwater, McCrary, Simley, Gavu, and everybody else. Almost everyone has come in. It looks like Dunn, Mall are one of the only two guys that have not come in. And we say Greg Mall almost always do the longest pit route. He actually really benefited off of it last week. He's going to come down pit road now. Number 12 did a really good job of doing that last week. He's in the good for the points, and he's coming down right now with the 39 of Dwayne Dunn.
And watching Bobby Tyrrell as he was coming out of pit road, Jamie Walker went flying by his outside, so it looks like that short pit, at least for the time being, has proven to be a bit more effective than running for as long as you can. Bobby Tyrrell's lost a bit of ground, will not be in the lead as they come to the line here, so if he has to take one less pit stop and this goes green the entire time, it'll work in his favor. But if a yellow were to come out right now, he'd probably be at a bit of a disadvantage in the fact that he'll be far back in the pack. However, he will have those fresh tires. He won't have to pit, but we'll have to see as this race goes on how it shapes up. But Bobby Tyrrell now sitting in 8th place.
Yeah, and you can wonder, about 21 seconds back from Dwayne Dunn, who just pitted, so down really back, 7 seconds down to Michael Waters, who presumes the lead at the moment. But that's a huge difference when we haven't talked about Michael Waters this entire time, and he now has the lead by a very big amount from some of these drivers. And talk about a second and a quarter above when you're on new and old. This isn't new and old. This is new in a few older tires, so that's a big difference, and I think you hit it right on the head that this is a much bigger lead than we were really expecting. But in tow is Seth Bowdy, who hasn't got a win this season, and then you got to think about these two trying to do everything they can to get another win in their first win of the season, and they got 3 seconds on Justin Michael, who pitted it a little bit before Bobby Terrell, who did the long run. So you got to wonder, these strategies definitely playing out, I think, the way we expected them, but I think much larger of a gap between Terrell and Waters that we were expecting. But nonetheless, the fight continues for that lead, and Up front, they're up by about 2 seconds, but at this point, we'll take a short break here to fix a couple of the audio things, and we'll be right back in just a little bit.